All right, so the Quarry. This has been like the game of the week.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's playing it.
It's hot.
Or
it's
I
real
should
hot.
say, a lot of people are playing it.
A lot more people playing it than Mario Strikers, I'll tell you that.
I know, it came out the same day.
Rip Strikers.
But we also have been playing the Quarry. In fact, we just finished, so we are fresh off of it. And
we're fresh off of one of the 140-ish endings.
we're going to talk about it, give our opinions on the game. We're going to do this spoiler-free, but we are going to give you some opinions on the game and kind of what it's like, and kind of inform you of if it's a game that maybe you should pick up or other games in this kind of genre.
Yep.
What they're like. Because this was fresh to you. You'd never played a game like this before.
Yeah, no, I'd never played one of these before, and it's basically an interactive movie.
It is, and that's exactly. It's an interactive film. That's the genre of game in general.
And you just make choices, kind of like a modern day Goosebumps novel.
At the end of the day, it's really way more movie than game.
Yeah.
Way more movie. There's a lot of just sitting there. You may be sitting there for, cutscenes that last, 10 minutes. You could be sitting there for a while.
Yeah, and then it'll throw in a quick time event, in the middle of those cutscenes, and kind of remind you, oh yeah, I do have to occasionally press buttons. Right. But yeah, it's very movie. It's extremely cinematic. Got a lot of music. Got a great soundtrack. And
it's done with some fairly well-known actors and stuff. It's not like they really put a lot of work into this game. But I think the thing I was most impressed with was the graphics, because the game really looked phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There were, with some notable exceptions, and that being specifically the water.
The water looked like trash garbage.
And there was some
that was some hot dog water.
Yeah, the water. They had these splashes, and it looked so much worse. I don't know that it really would have looked all that bad if everything else hadn't looked all that good. But in comparison, the water looked really bad. And then there was some, I don't know if it was aliasing or anti-aliasing, where it was between the models and the backgrounds. There sometimes was a big halo of
just jankiness.
Yeah,
I've noticed that in other modern games. Like I even noticed that in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh yeah.
And that had great graphics. But the graphics in this did look really good. We're going to talk about how we played it. Right. I think my graphical experience was a little worse than yours.
Definitely.
But still good. It was still mostly good.
As you play the game, because you're making decisions, there are all these different endings. There's they tout that there's I think it was 140 something possible endings that they said that you could get, which makes sense because you could have essentially you play as maybe 8 different characters, but then there are other characters in the game, and from what I understand, the characters in the game could all either survive or die, and depending on what decisions you make, they will live or not. We kind of went into it with the intention of trying to save everybody.
Yeah.
But
it didn't work out. In fact, the people that I really wanted to save are the ones we lost.
Yeah, no joke. It really was that way.
Yeah, but I think spoiler free, of course. I think we can give the premise of the game. So just so we're not speaking in such vague terms, like Randy said, you're playing as these 8 people, and you are summer camp counselors, and you go to a summer camp. And through some crazy turns of events, things are not as it seems. And that's the setup. It's like a classic horror movie kind of setup. You throw all these people together in a scenario, and
the raging hormones, and there's all kinds of stuff. Every horror movie trope is there. It's really interesting because this is such a hands-off type game. It's very different than other video games. It's almost not a video game.
Yeah.
But that being said, it is still really fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
I think we played it in a little bit of a unique way.
Yeah, so we had the idea of trying to play this game multiplayer in terms of just kind of passing the controller back and forth, but we didn't want, we wanted to be able to do it from our own separate homes to make things easy.
To make it look better on stream, because we wanted to stream it.
So instead of just physically handing a controller back and forth, we wanted to figure out a way to do this. So what we ended up doing was Daniel remote played Daniel remote played my Xbox from his computer, and then I was just playing my Xbox, which is really cool because it almost acts as if you're just both using the main controller.
Yeah.
And instead of trading a controller, when it was Daniel's turn, you just pick up your controller. When it was my turn, I'd pick up my controller, and we just played it that way. And it really worked way better than I expected it.
It worked really well. The very first time we did it, we had just a couple little idiosyncrasies we had to work out, but it worked almost seamlessly after that.
Yeah.
We could definitely do it again. I think we will.
Yeah, I think that it really worked well to do that. And I think these types of games are really great for doing that, for like passing the controller back and forth, whether it's in person or however you figure it out.
Right.
Because it makes it a much more, like it's like you're watching a movie with friends, It's not like you're on your own watching it. You share this experience, and you also share the blame of like when people die, or like when, and it makes it more fun.
Yeah. I was remote playing, so I did have a little input lag, but it didn't matter.
No, this type of game it doesn't need like really precise.
Yeah.
There was like a time or two where you needed to be really quick. But literally only like once or twice in the entire game, where you really had to be fast reflexes and make it happen.
And I did it.
Yeah, you did it.
I did miss one quick time event, but I swear I did it, and it just didn't happen. I swear I did. But I pulled off everything else.
Yeah. The Quarry was developed by Supermassive Games, which is a developer who specializes in this type of interactive film type game. They're the ones who did probably the biggest game that they're most well known for is Until Dawn. And we'll just have to see if The Quarry holds up and has as much, ends up with as much clout as that game, because Until Dawn is the one that I continuously hear people talking about. And I think it came out back in, I'm going to guess like 2016 or something, because it's...
You are almost right, 2015.
2015, yeah, because it's quite old now. But they also are the developer behind the Dark Pictures series of games. I think it's called the Dark Pictures Anthology or something.
I wonder if Until Dawn is scarier.
It is, I'd say it is scarier, yes. It's got less of the kind of like corny horror, I don't want to get into too much of the genres and stuff, because I feel like it might be a giveaway for the story, but it definitely leans into that, that corny thing.
Yeah,
which
it's got the tropes, it's got the cheesy horror moments.
Right. There's a lot of jokes and stuff.
A lot of jokes.
But it still does have its scary moments. Like, it is certainly in the horror genre.
And I really, honestly, didn't think I would like it as much as I did.
Yeah, because it's so hands-off.
It is very hands-off. It's not really the kind of game I normally go for. I really, honestly want to see some of those different endings. I may go to YouTube for that. I don't know that I'm going to, like, replay. I mean, I don't have it. We played it through you because you had it through Gameply.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it, although we did just finish it. But,
yeah, we did just finish it.
But, I'm thinking about I liked the characters, for one. And if I didn't care about the characters, it wouldn't have been a good game.
Right.
Like, I'm still upset that we lost that first person that we lost, because it was the one person I didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes about how well written and how well executed it is.
And the game does a really good job, and it spends maybe arguably too much time setting up the story.
It does.
But I think because it sets up the characters for such a long time, by the time things get real, you have actually developed a connection with them, so it matters.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a balancing act.
It takes a while for it to really hit the fan.
It really does. It took us it probably took close to 4 hours before things really started to really pick up and get real. And before that, it was just a lot of setting up the story, setting up the characters, making sure that you understood their motivations, and like, which
Making
I think
sure you
overall,
understood the mechanics of the game, the quick time events, all that.
Yeah, in a low stakes way,
Yeah, in a low stakes way.
Like I said, Until Dawn was this company's like biggest game up to this point. They've done other games, but Until Dawn was the one that everyone always talks about. And I think it's just going to take time for us to decide as a gaming collective if The Quarry was as good or better or, worse than Until Dawn. But I think that there is a chance. And I think it just all comes down to, as we kind of ruminate on it a little bit and kind of chew on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to ruminate on this thing for a while, I'd say.